It's indeed time for The World This Week. 7 days, 4 Paris-based correspondents, 1 hour, and with us is Anne Bagameri. How are you from the International Herald Tribune?
Nice to be here.
Also with us, Craig Capitas, reporter and author of books that include Mona Lisa's Pajamas. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine.
All right. Anthony Bélanger is the man responsible for what you see in the television show Le Blogueur on the Franco-German television channel Arte. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And Alberto Romagnoli, the Paris correspondent for Italian public broadcaster RAI. Thank you for being with us. The World This Week, you can always follow on Facebook and throughout the week, and also on Twitter, our handle @François F24. In this country, 1 month to go. On Sunday, May the 6th, Nicolas Sarkozy stands for re-election in the second round of the presidential election. He's rebounded from record-low popularity ratings, what Americans sometimes call Nixon numbers, and has now narrowed the gap with socialist frontrunner François Hollande to somewhere in the region of 6 or 8 points in the second round, depending on which polling institute you swear by. Again, that's the second round. The first round in just over 2 weeks. Now, there's another number that everyone is watching, the turnout rate. Last time around, in 2007, a whopping 85% of the French voted in the first round. This time, there could be a record abstention. Anthony Bélanger, the French politics crazy, why does it look like so many might vote with their feet?
Because there is no passion about that election. I mean, everybody knows that they are going to take tough decision, either Sarkozy or Hollande. I mean, the two contenders, main contenders, when they will arrive or when they will be elected. So there is they cannot promise a lot of things. They just can go on with the election, and go on with their own arguments. But there is no passion. I do remember that in 2007, for example, with when Ségolène Royal and Nicolas Sarkozy were the main contenders, well, the passion was here. Everybody was waiting for the next discourse or the next speech. And no, I don't even know what would be the next speech of Mr. Hollande or Mr. Sarkozy. There is not such a passion. That's the first clue, I think.
Why is the passion missing, Anne Bagameri?
I think, well, first of all, I think probably the socialists spent all their passion in the primaries. There was passion there. There was some real choice. There were some fiery speeches. There were fireworks. And there were some real options presented to the socialist voters.
So you're saying there's no option between Nicolas Sarkozy and his main rival?
No, there's definitely an option. It's just that it's all too well known by now. Sarkozy has been president for 5 years. Everyone knows where he stands. He is basically running on the record of the last 5 years with a few little right-wing twists to respond to Marine Le Pen, especially in social issues. Hollande has presented his economic platform. It's pretty classically socialist. It's what the socialist electors wanted. That's why they put him forward. And I think there's just no real surprises about either where these men stand or whether they will get into the second round. I think that the tendency might have been for there to be a protest vote. Do better, guys. You know, there's a left candidate, there's a right candidate, there's Marine Le Pen, and there's Mr. Mélenchon. They could have attracted a fair number of voters, but people just don't see that in this process it's going to do any good.
There's also a calendar issue that's been brought up by some, and some have even turned this into a conspiracy theory. That is to say, the first round takes place during the Easter vacation. You know, the French, Alberto Romagnoli, they like their vacation. The Easter vacation, first round. Second round takes place over the long bank holiday weekend for May the 8th. Do you believe in conspiracy theories?
No, I was in Toulouse and somebody was saying that there was a conspiracy theory over there too. I think that there is a problem of politics all over the world. In my country, we have a so-called technical government. So the politician is out of the game for a while, for 1 year, until next year. And so-called technicians are doing the job. I'm sure that they are doing a political job, but anyway, they're not the traditional right or left. And I think that even Sarkozy is trying to offer something that is not right or left. He's saying all the time, I'm talking to the people directly. Forget which is my party. Or I tell you the real problems. And even Hollande is trying to say I'm normal. They're trying to forget their story, because I think there is a problem of politics all over the world.
All right, now, Anne Bagger-Murray saying the Hollande campaign failing to stir passion. Financial Times didn't see it that way on Thursday. They made the front page out of the fact that there he is, extending open arms to the socialist 2007 candidate, Ségolène Royal, who happens to be the mother of his 4 children, and who ran against him for the nomination this time around. Craig Capito...
There's no suspense at all. I mean, it's the only image, a little bit glamour, that you can take of that campaign. There is 2 good reasons to that. First, French people is supposed to be a political country, a political people. So if you don't give them a little bit of politics, you don't give them passion at all. And the second reason is that everybody knows who's going to win. You can say, I mean, if you look at the polls steadily, they're saying that Hollande is going to win the second round. And if you compare them to the 2007 polls, you get exactly the same kind of results. Everybody knew at that period of time that Sarkozy was going to win, because each polls was predicting his victory, as each polls is predicting the Holland victory. So there is no suspense, no glamour, and no politics in it.
Is it game over?
It's a no campaign.
Yeah. Look, the Socialist Party screwed the pooch on this from the very beginning. Let's take a real quick history.
So you're saying the opposite. You're saying that Sarkozy will win.
Oh, yeah. Come on. I mean, it's as inevitable as Romney being the Republican candidate. Save the confetti. Look, Sarkozy, like him or not, broke the mold because he was the first president of this country who did not come from the French Imperium.
And they didn't like it.
Well, that was more a question of personality than it was of policy, and fair enough. So what do the socialists do in this great country of France, which is a great country, which has some of the smartest people in the world? Who do the socialists go and pick? Ségolène Royal's boyfriend, who comes out of the Imperium, who is essentially a college professor. He has never been a minister.
You're right. He's a little bit dull.
And, well, it's not even dull. I wouldn't trust this guy walking my cat to the litter box. Now, Sarkozy, yes. Does he grate on people? Yes. Has he failed to follow through with policies? His new 30-point policy statement is precisely the same one he gave last time. But the fact remains that on a global stage, France can trust Sarkozy. I just think Hollande, the socialists lost the opportunity.
It's because you've got a short memory, because we were saying exactly the inverse, I mean, the contrary when Sarkozy was elected. When Sarkozy was elected, he had no international experience.
But I disagree with you on that point.
He couldn't make the difference between an American president.
It's not a question of Sarkozy. If the Socialist Party of this country, if the best they can come up with is François Hollande, then there's a real dysfunction within the Socialist Party.
All right, we'll see how that plays out.
It's a second choice. Don't remember. You have to remember that Dominique Strauss-Kahn was the first choice of the Socialist Party. And it would have been, yes, I know, I know.
All right,
wow.
But Dominique Strauss-Kahn was then. This is now. And what's interesting, you were mentioning Toulouse. The kingmaker in this campaign might not be the far right, but a former socialist, now running with the backing of the French Communist Party. Tens of thousands turning out on Thursday in the southwestern city of Toulouse to see and hear Jean-Luc Mélenchon, a man who brands himself the Sound and Fury after the William Faulkner novel. Alberto Romagnoli, what do you think of this phenomenon?
That, as I was saying, he still gives the idea of a dream. Then everybody is thinking that it's an impossible dream to change the system. But I think that a lot of people all over the world, and a lot in France, still think that politics can change their life. It's not only a matter of technical problems. So he's offering this model, and everybody knows that is.
So could he bring some of those people who might have stayed away from the polls to vote?
Yes, of course. And also some people that think that Hollande is not so different from Sarkozy, that he's an old-style politician. So maybe he can push some young people to the poll. That is not bad, I think.
If you add the numbers, I mean, the left never has been that high since 1981 and 1988. the two last presidential election, the left won. So it's a good news for the left.
All right, but the president is rising in the polls. His rise, he's getting a big bump since the handling of that siege in Toulouse that resulted in the killing of a homegrown jihadist who targeted French soldiers in a Jewish school. This past Wednesday, an unrelated case, completely unrelated, police arrest 10 more Islamist radicals in several French cities. Another sting operation, it's the second, after the and also there's been deportation orders announced for hardline imams. Cynics argue, can Sarkozy arrest Islamists every day between now and election day?
It's a good question.
If you want to think about a conspiracy theory, think about that. This is a man who controls the security services and is making a show of force at a time when pretty much only he can. I mean,
but he is getting that bump in the polls.
Well, good for him. Okay, he's playing it well, I guess. This probably all needed to be done. But I do tend to agree that I think Sarkozy wins this time. And I think it's only partly because he has the opportunity to look presidential at every turn, and Hollande doesn't. I mean, Sarkozy can run a rose garden campaign, as you would say, doing nothing but ceremonial and presidential things. And I think he would still win because I think probably the French, deep down, are not willing to change horses.
All right.
Economically, politically, they're not willing to change horses.
Still got that 6 to 8 points to make up, but another vote there for, or at least a prediction there.
That's a prediction.
A prediction, not a vote.
It's a secret ballot in this country, right?
It is, it is.
Is that what they told you?
Let's take a bet.
All right, speaking of a jihadist threat, and this is, I guess you could say, a more somber story. For the past 2 weeks, we've been reporting on how northern rebels in Mali have capitalized on confusion in the capital after a coup there to seize a vast desert territory that's larger than France. Regional powers and Western backers busy pressuring the very junior officers in Bamako to restore democracy. Also discovering now how Tuareg rebels, who have this Friday declared an independent state, have in many instances, most notably in Timbuktu, been outflanked by Islamists, allied with an Algerian Salafist group called Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. Here's what the foreign minister told me yesterday.
On the other side, we have Al-Qaeda, a terrorist movement, and we think that its purpose is to occupy the whole country to implement an Islamist regime, and that's why we are fighting against this risk, and we are supporting the intention of ECOWAS to deploy on the ground its force to stop the attacks of the terrorists.
Supporting, but the minister very clear, not putting boots on the ground. That, as you've been telling us, that would not go down well. Wouldn't go down well with the Malians, wouldn't go down well with neighboring Algeria. So
it is not that clear. It is an Islamic alliance because, I mean, you've got separate, let's say, movements there. The main one, which is called the MNLA, is not Islamist at all. It's just an old-fashioned nationalist movement who is part of the cake. And the part of the cake is the two-thirds part of Mali, which is a huge region, a huge country, the double size of France or something like that. And that's the Tuareg nationalist rebellion. And then they lied themselves, or they let two other groups, as you said, Islamic groups, let's say, helping them to conquer onto that region. So when Mr. Juppé says that there is an Islamic danger, I think that there are more, let's say, a battle within the three movements than an Islamic danger at first. And the very important thing you've got to know is that, for example, the main Islamic group, which is called Ansar Din, it's something like it's no more than 200 up to 300 soldiers or militants. They can do whatever they want because there is nobody there. There is no more state, no more soldiers, no more Malian army. But anyway, it's still not no more than 200 or 300 people.
All right, and back in Bamako, a sense of dread for all those fleeing the north and the fighting.
First of all, I'm scared. Already food is scarce. I'm scared because we don't know what is going on. Telephone lines are cut.
They say we have to follow Islamic laws. It's mandatory. Al-Qaeda is there. High officials from Akim are there.
And Bagamuri, when it was a coup and democracy, which had been there for 2 decades, had been suspended, there was attention given. And now that we're saying the word Islamist again, suddenly the West is paying, it seems, much more attention.
I think justifiably, because, I mean, the real danger, and our correspondent, the correspondent for the New York Times and the IHT in West Africa, Adam Nassiter, his firm belief in this is not that the danger is so much a small African conflagration, there's some resources at stake, but that one needs to regard this question. His great fear is that this is Pakistan waiting to happen. This is a state that will do nothing but turn out terrorists to come and make trouble for the rest of us.
And you know, Anne is absolutely correct in that assessment. When you look at uprisings like this, presidents who can't keep their troops in the barracks, I always look for a statistic, a number, the one number that tells you all you need to know. And I checked with the World Health Organization today, and I discovered that 91.6% of the women in Mali have undergone genital mutilation.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think that's really all you need to know about the radical Islamists who want to take control here. And all you need to know about this, you know, the darling President Touré, who was the darling of the aid agencies for the past
hang
years.
on, Craig Capitas. I've been several times to Bamako. The people there are not hardline Islamists. They're just devout Muslims. And yes, they do practice genital mutilation. We're talking about something different. We're talking about something where there's a sense of a vast sway of territory that's become lawless, with or without some support from inside of Algeria.
Yes, but when you're looking at genital mutilation of women on that scale, what you're seeing underpinning that is there is a very fundamental Muslimist underpinning.
To be fair, no. To be fair, it's
I think in 2012, when trying to deal with Africa,
and even in Egypt, where you've got that kind of genital mutilations,
it's
not
a significant statistic, which I think speaks volumes.
It's not linked to Islam.
We'll agree to disagree.
And it has never been.
We'll agree to disagree. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, the World This Week will resume. And we'll give the verdict on the verdict, that 25 years sentence given to the man dubbed the Merchant of Death, Victor Bout.